on my compressor here and blow these areas out. And I'm going to use one of these little hobby compressors because they don't have a whole lot of pressure. So how's it looking now? Everything nice and neat, smooth, and all of those excess chip outs are filled in, and everything is nice and polished up with that 400 sandpaper. It's smooth now, and it's ready for the new fret wire. So the first thing I want to do here is put the fret wire through the radius bender, and this is adjustable. I've got it adjusted for a 20-inch radius. The fret wire comes straight, so put it in the bender, and it radiuses out for me to a 20-inch. So now we're going to start installing the regular frets, and begin by taking a look at my radius here, and I always like to check it with the fingerboard just to make double sure, and it's laying flush right across the top of that fingerboard. I like to square off the edge a little bit better and smooth it better because the clipper doesn't always clip it off exactly evenly. So again, we line it up, and I'm going to show you in a minute just how we line this thing up. I've got the first fret ready, and this is the second one. Slightly, just slightly over the edge here of the fingerboard, and just a little bit into the binding. You put it there, and it winds up being exactly where I want it. Just clip the tang off. That. Here. If you look straight down at the fret wire, you can see where the edge, about where the edge is. If I can get this thing to focus, see that? See that? Now I haven't tapped these in yet because I'm making sure I've got them at the length I want. That is like spot on, right where I need them to be. Fret number 4 going in. All right, now I'm going to try to show you here exactly where I've got the edge of that. Exactly where I put it. I put it slightly over. If you notice, it's slightly over. Slightly into, but very slightly into the binding, just a little bit. And I found that gives me about just the right length I want. Gives me enough, gives me just the overhang I want from the fingerboard. So let's see here. I can get in here and cut for a second. And right at that point, right there, So we're going to cut the fret wire with the fret nippers. These are Stupak fret nippers. These are the best. They last me quite a while with stainless steel fret wire. Some of them are really well made. So this is a good pair. And put these cutters all the way up against the binding here. See that? All the way up against the binding, and then straight, and then give it a little tension, cut in, lift it out of there to cut it. Don't cut it with it in there. You could if you were dealing with a unbound fingerboard, but you don't want to do it with these because you move around and go off, and this has got to be an exact cut. So you want to be sure and cut that off right where it needs to be. In other words, the length is pre-cut. If you were doing an unbound fingerboard, the frets would just, the fret ends, you could cut them off a 1/4 inch or a 1/2 inch sticking out. You just don't want to waste much fret wire, but you could do that. And then you can dress the frets after you trim them, after the glue dries. You can see how you've got the tang trimmed back on each end. When you pull the frets out of most bound fingerboards, factory bound fingerboards, you will see that the frets look like that. When you pull the old frets out, they'll have the trim back tangs like that. So I got 4 frets ready to go in. What I like to do is glue the slots. Pre-glue the slots. This is hide glue, and it's the liquid hide glue from Stupak, and I think it's put out by Titebond, and I just use one of these standard tip containers to put it in there. And I like to just line the slot. You got to be careful when you line the slot, because you drag it along there, you can actually drag some wood with it if you're not careful. So when you put this in, get these slots glued up and ready, and be very careful that you don't drag that nozzle across that open groove there, because it'll snag another chip of ebony, and then you'll have to make another repair. All right, good. Now I'm going to put the fret wire in, and to do this I am going to have to move the camera out of the way. I'm going to place each one of these right where it should be. Now when you place them in there, you want to give them a little head start, and this is to make sure that they are going in before they're going in straight before. There's a little excess always. Most of the time you can just wipe it off. If you're not satisfied with how that wipes off, just get you a little water and just wipe it with the water. And there's a little like watermark in the fingerboard, which dries up in just minutes. Doesn't take long. Always make sure there's something underneath for support under the neck as much as possible. You don't want to hit it. Don't hit it very hard, because it'll start bending, and then you've got a bent piece of fret wire. Now, I don't don't use a fret press. I have one, but I don't use it because I don't like it. I can't get the frets to seat the way I really want them to. It just seems like doing it by hand is a little better, always. So, don't use the fret press. Just do it the old-fashioned way. And the more it goes in, I hit a little harder. You can probably tell by the sound of the hammer. I tap lightly and then a little bit harder, and it goes right in. Just like that. Kind of go with the hammer. Just like that. All right, let's take a look. So that's how they're looking. It's right where I want them. Right on that edge where I want them. See that? And they're going to bevel off really nicely when I'm done. Okay, so I'll finish putting these frets in, and then we'll get to the full fret dressing.